All right, so today what we have is we have Lattafa's Fire on Ice as well as French Avenue's Royal Blend Sequoia. So both of these are going to be interpretations of by Kilian's Angel Shear Paradis or Paradise, however you pronounce it. And this particular fragrance here, this is going to be a part of French Avenue's Royal Blend line. I'm definitely a huge fan of these Royal Blend fragrances. Each one of them, I would say, with the exception of Royal Blend Bourbon, has definitely been one of my favorite, releases from French Avenue for sure, man. So I get pretty excited whenever I see that there's a new Royal Blend fragrance out there. And then Lattafa also, like right around the same time that the Royal Blend Sequoia was released, Lattafa also put out their version, which is Fire on Ice. All right, so like I mentioned, both of these are going to be interpretations of Angel Share Parody. And this particular one here, I feel like you get just the overall, it's a much more premium looking presentation, both on, the actual box itself as well as the bottle. So with this one, you get the Royal Blend plaque here on the front of the box, the name of the fragrance, Sequoia. This is in Extrait de Parfum from French Avenue. You got the French Avenue logo up top. Altogether, I think that this is the best looking box out of all of them. I really like the sort of kind of like wine colored sort of color scheme that they went with this one, like wine and gold basically. And then you've got these sort of stripes here that kind of go along all along the whole box for the most part. On the back, you've got the Fragrance World Authenticity sticker, French Avenue, and then the ingredients. And then on the bottom, you have the production date, barcode, stuff like that. And then just like all the other Royal Blend fragrances, box opens up like that. You've got the card here with the actual notes for the fragrance, and then you've got the same sort of bottle style that you get with the other Royal Blend fragrances. This one is like that sort of wine colored sort of looking bottle with the Royal Blend Sequoia plaque on the middle of it, French Avenue plaque up top, and then you've got a French Avenue sticker on the bottom. And then this is the sprayer, pretty decent. And so that's the presentation for Royal Blend Sequoia. Now for Fire on Ice, I would definitely say that the presentation is not as good for sure as what it is with the Royal Blend Sequoia. So with Fire on Ice, you get the name of the fragrance up here at the top. Basically something that kind of looks like, what the bottle is supposed to look like here. This is a eau de parfum concentration. You got Lattafa written down here, and this is actually a 110 ml bottle. You got the Lattafa logo up top, and then on like both the front and the side here, you kind of get like this string that wraps around these two wheels here to kind of keep the box closed. And you've got nothing on this side, and then on the back you've got the authenticity sticker, Fire on Ice by Lattafa, the ingredients, and then on the bottom you've got the barcode and the production date. All right, so to open this, you just kind of undo that, and then you lift this up, and then the bottle sits in there like that. And like I mentioned, the presentation is definitely not as nice with the Lattafa as what it is with the Royal Blend Sequoia. This bottle is definitely, you could say, kind of tacky looking. And honestly, this is the first time that I've actually noticed that they've got what's supposed to be like a ice cube inside of the actual bottle. I really didn't notice that this whole time that I've had it. I guess I've kind of been distracted by how, kind of generic looking this bottle looks. But yeah, man, you've got like an ice cube inside of there, and the stem kind of like curves around it. Basically, you've got Fire on Ice written here on the actual bottle, Lattafa, and then you got Fire on Ice written on the actual cap here as well as Eau de Parfum, natural spray. I don't know why they put that part up here on the top of the cap. I really don't even know why they put Fire on Ice on the cap at all. Think they would have been good just leaving the Lattafa logo on the top of the cap. And then you've got like the Lattafa sticker down here at the bottom of the bottle. Sprayer on this one, I believe. Yeah, the sprayer is not that good on this one, on the Lattafa. I would definitely say it's better on the French Avenue for sure. All right, so just to get started with the notes, I'm gonna start off with the notes of Angel Share Paradis. So the top notes of Paradis are gonna be, in the top notes you get cognac, liquor, and raspberry. In the mid you get tonka bean, Bulgarian rose, and caramel. And then in the base, you get oak, praline, sandalwood, oak moss, and vanilla. Now for the Royal Blend Sequoia, this one in the top notes, you're gonna get raspberry, liquor, and cognac. In the mid, you get rose and moss. And then in the base, you get praline, oak, and sandalwood. The notes for Fire on Ice are slightly different. So you get in the top notes cognac, cinnamon, and raspberry. In the mid you get rose petals, moss, and caramel. And then in the base you get oak, myrrh, cedarwood, and ambroxan. Now there are definitely, to me, like some noticeable differences between all three fragrances. So, you know, the original Angel Share Paradis, the Royal Blend Sequoia, as well as the Fire on Ice. To me, I do feel like you do kind of have to smell all three of these like side by side to, you know, really be able to, you know, decipher them. I don't necessarily know that, you know, if you were to smell all three of these in the air, that they would necessarily be, you know, like super distinguishable. I do feel like all three of these are, you know, pretty close to the scent profile. But again, when you smell all three of these side by side next to each other, there are definitely some noticeable differences. So the biggest difference that I noticed between Angel Share Paradis and these two is the Angel Share Paradis, to me, it comes across as a lot more woodier than both of these. I get like the oak like right away when I spray on Angel Share Paradis. It's almost like the oak is like, it's almost like it's not even like a base note. It's almost kind of like a top or mid note in this fragrance, because you smell it, you know, like immediately once you spray it, you immediately smell it, and the woodiness becomes stronger and stronger as the fragrance starts to dry down. So definitely I would say throughout the entire life of the fragrance, the Angel Share Paradis is the woodiest out of all of these. So, you know, really, I think it all kind of depends on what you like about the scent profile. This for sure is definitely like woodier than the original Angel Share for sure. You know, it kind of has like that same sort of aged oak barrel type of smell to it. But to me, it's amped up a little bit more in this Angel Share Paradis. Now, in the Royal Blend Sequoia, to me, the woodiness is toned a lot. It's toned way down, in my opinion, in the Royal Blend Sequoia. This, when you initially spray it on, the Royal Blend Sequoia comes across a little sweeter than the Angel Share for sure. I feel like you get a little bit more of like the raspberry in the Angel Share, or I'm sorry, the Royal Blend Sequoia. You get more raspberry with this one, a little bit less rose. That's the other thing too. The rose in Angel Share Parody, to me, it seems to be a little bit more prominent, really, than both of these. It does smell a little bit more higher quality and better blended in the original Angel Share. But overall, it's just stronger for sure than both the Royal Blend Sequoia and the Fire on Ice. Um, so I mean that was another difference that I noticed, and like I said, the raspberry in this, there seems to be a heavier emphasis on raspberry in this fragrance in the Royal Blend Sequoia. So it comes across a little bit more sweeter, not sweeter to the point where it's like a denser fragrance than the Angel Share Parody. This for sure is the strongest for out of all of these. You can definitely tell that this is a pretty high concentration, like extrait de parfum, type of fragrance. The Royal Blend Sequoia also does smell pretty strong as well. Does definitely smell like an extrait, and it does last like an extrait. But when you compare it in strength to the original Angel Share, this definitely is a little bit more toned down than what the Angel Share Parody is for sure. Now, for the Fire on Ice, when you initially spray this on, this is a little bit heavier on the woods, on the oak barrel smell, than what Royal Blend Sequoia is. And to me, like the way that the raspberry and the rose come across, I feel like both of those are, I guess you could say maybe the rose is amped up a little bit more than what it is in the Royal Blend Sequoia, but not more than what it is in the original Angel Share Parody. So to me, you're getting around the same level of raspberry with Fire on Ice, but just a little bit more rose. And I would also say that the Royal Blend Sequoia, to me, the spices in this come across as being a little bit more richer and higher quality smelling. The Fire on Ice also, it comes across as, it does actually have kind of like a cold sort of feeling as compared to like the Royal Blend Sequoia and the Angel Share Paradis or Parody. So those are definitely some differences that I noticed, just kind of smelling the fragrances up close. Like I said, as you kind of smell them in the air, I mean, I think maybe you could possibly tell like the Lattafa apart from the other two, because like I said, it does kind of have like a slightly sort of colder feel to the fragrance, whereas this one still definitely, it maintains some warmth. I just would say that it's not as warm as what the Angel Share Paradis is, or Parody, mainly because of like the woodiness. I think that the woodiness in this fragrance, it does add a little bit of warmth to the fragrance, whereas I think this kind of leans a little bit more into the raspberry, and it's like a very kind of like raspberry juice, basically, is kind of what I get from this. Like if you like freshly pressed and squeezed out like raspberry juice, that's kind of like the sort of vibe that I get from this one. But like I said, the Royal Blend Sequoia is to me richer and spicier than what the Fire on Ice is. This seems to have a slightly more cooler feel to it, especially in the opening. Now, as these two start to dry down, they start to become a lot more closer to each other. In the like far dry down, I feel like Fire on Ice smells the most like Royal Blend Sequoia, and this is like well past like 4 or 5 hours into the fragrance. That's when I feel like these two, for the most part, kind of smell the same. With the exception of, to me, the Royal Blend Sequoia does smell like the higher quality fragrance the entire time. Like I said, it does have a little bit more of a richer smell to it. The Fire on Ice, I get a slightly more, again, cooler, but also at the same time, a little bit more kind of transparent sort of feel from the Fire on Ice as compared to the Royal Blend Sequoia. I feel like that's probably due to, the Ambroxan that's being used in the Fire on Ice more than likely. So that's what's kind of giving it a little bit more of like a transparent feel. But again, these are differences that, for the most part, I had to like smell them up close and, kind of smell them side by side to really be able to like decipher. I don't necessarily think that, most people would be able to tell these differences in the air. Now, I do think you probably would be able to tell the difference between the Angel Share Parody and these two in the air, just simply because of how much more woodier the Angel Share is and because it's a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, I feel like both of these are very solid interpretations. Again, I do think that this is the slightly better interpretation, but if you're in a place where you don't really have access to this one, the Royal Blend Sequoia, then I do think that the Fire on Ice is still a very solid interpretation. Obviously, again, the presentation on this one is not, as good as what it is with the Royal Blend Sequoia. But, the juice in here is still pretty solid, in my opinion. Now, as for the performance on these are all really good. But, again, I think the order in terms of like best to worst would be the Angel Share Parody would be the best. The Royal Blend Sequoia would be the second best, and then this one would be technically the worst. The Angel Share Parody, it just overall is the richer, stronger fragrance. Now, I won't say that this is better because I actually do prefer the way that Royal Blend Sequoia smells over Angel Share Parody. To me, the woodiness in this is, I like the fact that it's toned down a little bit in the Royal Blend Sequoia. To me, it just smells a little bit better, in my opinion. Also, again, the rose is not as prominent in the Royal Blend Sequoia as what it is in the Angel Share. But yeah, man, I would say that the Lattafa, this one is, again, it has a slightly more sort of like colder sort of feel to the fragrance. And it does kind of wear at some points, a little bit more kind of transparent than what the Royal Blend Sequoia does. So, I mean, I think really it just all kind of depends on your preference. Some of you may like the way that this smells on your skin more than you do the Royal Blend Sequoia, or vice versa. It just all kind of depends. But I do think that this is one of those situations where, for the most part, you probably can't go wrong with either one of them. Again, I just have a little bit more of a preference towards the Royal Blend Sequoia because, again, I can smell a slight sort of quality difference between the Royal Blend Sequoia and the Fire on Ice. But I mean, not like a super noticeable difference. I can say that for sure. Now, for the performance on the Royal Blend Sequoia, easily over 12 hours. Really, really good projection for like the first 3 hours or so. Again, not as good as what I'm getting with the Angel Share Parody. This is a really, really strong fragrance. Definitely, it's noticeably stronger than the original Angel Share. But yeah, man, I still get at least, over an arm's length or so for like the first 3 hours, and longevity as well over 3 hours with this. For the Lattafa is going to be like around that kind of like 8 to 9 hour mark is for the most part what I'm getting with this. And as you kind of get to like those later hours, like hours probably 7 or so, this does start to wear a little bit more lighter and a little bit more transparent than what the Royal Blend Sequoia does. All right. So again, man, really solid longevity on this. The projection on it is also, for the most part, I would say it's comparable to Royal Blend. I would say it is probably for about the first 2 to 2.5 hours though, in terms of like the projection. But you do get over arm's length of projection with the fire on ice as well. Now, as for the closeness ratings on both of these, so for Royal Blend Sequoia, I'm gonna say that this is like around 85% close for the most part to Angel Share Parody. So it's not gonna be like as close to the original as what the original Royal Blend is to the original Angel Share. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, at least for me, because I do actually slightly prefer what they've done with this fragrance, making it a little bit less woody, a little bit less rose dominant, and leaning a little bit more into like that sweet raspberry note. It's kind of like sweet and tart a little bit, you could say. So yeah, man, I really do like this one a lot. So I would say this one is about 85%. This I would say is also like about 85% as well. Like it's not super far off from Angel Share Parody. It just, like I said, it does have a slightly cooler sort of feel to it. It does wear a little bit more kind of transparent in the later hours of the fragrance. But it's not as woody as what the original fragrance is. But yeah, man, overall, these are both very, very solid. Now, in terms of my overall rating on these, I would say that the Royal Blend Sequoia for me would be a 9 out of 10. And then the Fire on Ice would be literally right behind it. So like a 8.5 to a 8.7 out of 10, like really not that much of a difference, between these two fragrances. So, again, I think for most people, it's just going to depend on which one of these are, more readily available, which one is, priced better, for the most part. Now, again, if you want the if the highest quality smelling version and the longest lasting, then I do think that, you would want to go in the direction of the Royal Blend Sequoia. But, if you just want a solid, affordable interpretation, you don't really care what the presentation looks like, then, Fire on Ice is also a very solid choice as well. I intend to keep this version of it, the Royal Blend Sequoia. I do know that I know Rayhan has their version of it. I think it's called Valhalla. I'll see about getting that one and maybe doing a comparison between Valhalla and the Royal Blend Sequoia. But for now, I would say, I do think both of these, again, are very solid choices. I just slightly prefer the Royal Blend Sequoia over the Fire on Ice. All right. So that's my take on these fragrances. Definitely let me know in the comments if you all have smelled both of these. And if so, have you all compared these to the original Angel Share Parody? And how close do you think these actually come to the original fragrance? All right. So let me know in the comments below. Also, I'll have links in the description to where you can pick both of these up. And if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Sense. I'll see y'all in the next video.